Are you thinking about food right now? How about now? Still? Okay, go get a snack and we'll talk. Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. Today I am going to be unpacking a super honest video by Caroline Winkler about her ED and how she stopped obsessing over food. Now, obviously a quick disclaimer, I am talking EDs today, though of course I will be approaching this with sensitivity and care. And if you're not already subscribed, don't forget to hit up that subscribe button. It really does help me out. Today's video is sponsored by my lifesaver, Homoglow. As a mom, can we just agree that spring is like the messiest season of the whole year? Like between the muddy paws and the wet rain boots, we are always mopping the floor. And Homoglow can be like a real savior when you need a break. I've talked about this before, but if you haven't heard, Homoglow is a 5-star cleaning service with super affordable prices, like way cheaper than most cleaning services that we've paid for in the past. But the way that it works is you go to Homoglow's website to choose the time and day that you're looking for and the duration of your cleaning, and you will see all of their available cleaners along with background checks, photos, and reviews. So if you've got someone that you've worked with before, then you can rebook that same person. And you can schedule it for like that week or in a month from now if you want to rebook cleanings on a regular basis. You can also sign up for their Forever Clean membership, which saves you $30 an hour on all future cleanings or unlimited cleanings for $19 an hour, all of which are backed by their happiness guarantee. Oh, and another thing I love is that 100% of the cleaning tips and fees go directly to the employees. So they're definitely extra incentivized to do a great job. Homoglow is only available in the United States, so whenever we are down, I just feel so relieved knowing that I can rely on this service to take a huge task off of my plate. So if you're looking to take home cleaning off of your plate this spring, go to homoglow.com/Abbey Sharp or scan the QR code to get your first 3 hours of cleaning for only $19. Okay, so in the video, Caroline talks about her experience with a severe eating disorder and how despite the significant physical health problems that arose from that cycle of restricting, binging, and purging, the most damning component of her ED was actually the mental energy that she was forced to pour into food.
And even after some of like the physical symptoms of eating disorders stabilized in me, this one symptom remained of this immense obsession about food.
So weight restoration is an imperative first step in pretty much any eating disorder recovery plan. Obviously, not only are we always aiming to reverse or prevent further damage to our hormones, metabolism, bone and muscle mass, essential organs, immune system, and so much more, but our brain consumes about 20% of our daily caloric intake. So underfueling your body literally hijacks a healthy brain.
Oh no, my brains.
Like a starved brain just cannot think very clearly, which makes it a lot more difficult to manage the underlying anxiety or control tendencies that lie at the core of the ED. That said, gaining weight is easy. Well, it's not easy, but in the grand scheme of ED recovery, it can certainly feel easy compared to the potentially lifelong journey of relearning your relationship with food and rewiring your ED brain. So let's take a look at Caroline's first tip.
Probably the biggest, most important next thing I did was that I let myself eat all foods. Those things that I love, making sure they're super present in how I eat, was the only way to eliminate binging and obsessing over food. And that took a long time. I would say it took like a year or two to really reset and to let, desserts and breads and all the things feel like a natural integrated part of my life.
Okay, so this totally checks out. Research suggests that restriction is one of the greatest predictors of a binge. Like, us humans just do not like to be told what we can or can't do. And our bodies are like biologically primed to defend our weight by overeating when we are faced with some kind of restrictive diet that leaves us physically hungry and emotionally deprived of the foods we love. Even the anticipation of removing delicious foods can trigger a binge. One study found that when restrained eaters, aka folks who have historically dieted, were told that they would begin a week-long low-calorie diet after participating in a cookie tasting challenge, they ate significantly more cookies than those who weren't told about the upcoming diet. They overate because they knew they wouldn't be getting cookies for a long time. I bet a lot of us have participated in a cookie challenge like that.
Cookie!
But yeah, once you get into the binge restrict cycle, it is very, very hard to get off that ride. When we restrict our food intake, our hypothalamus tells our brain to ramp up metabolic efficiency and force us to eat. We get anxious, our cortisol rises, we get hangry, and we specifically start to crave high-calorie foods. This phenomenon is not unique to folks with an eating disorder or a marker of lack of willpower. This is a primal human survival mechanism, and it's in all of us. So no longer restricting is always going to be step number one.
Instead of tracking calories, here's something you can track: willpower.
Interesting proposition. Let's hear more.
Even if when I was trying to gain weight in a healthy way, it still took restraint to eat how a normal person would eat. How would a normal person eat? I felt like a crazy person sometimes. And I realized it was really important for me to track for myself how my willpower ebbed and flowed throughout the day. Okay, I've got a full battery of willpower. Cool. Easy to make good decisions for myself in the morning. The lower my willpower is, the more I'm obsessing about the goal, the more I'm having to mechanically think about it.
Okay, so I had to watch that clip maybe 5 times to grasp what she was proposing. And I think I get what she's saying, but I just disagree with the word willpower or restraint. I don't like it. There's no question that trying to eat like a normal person may take mindful effort for someone who's had an ED. But the word willpower denotes something that we have control over. So in moments that we lack willpower, it's like it's our fault. So this paradigm does feel very punishing, and I do worry that it can fuel a shame cycle that could land you back in the throes of an ED. I think what Caroline is trying to say is coping capacity. And I think that a lot of us with anxiety can relate to this, right? You wake up to a fresh slate of a day, you're well rested, your cup is full, no one's bothered you yet, unless you've got kids who have been up in the night like mine usually are. But otherwise, you feel that you have the capacity to cope with minor nagging thoughts. But as the day goes on, your patience gets worn down and the pressures mount. You're in a rush, you got deadlines, your husband said something rude, your kids are fighting, you got stuck in traffic, you're tired, whatever. Your capacity to cope with stressors declines. This is not willpower. This is just being human. And I do think that words matter. So I think we can be a little bit more gentle on ourselves with acknowledging this rhythm a little more empathetically.
I plan my meals by my willpower. Okay, I recognize my willpower is highest in the morning, it's lowest in the evening. So I do lighter meals in the morning and expect to have bigger meals in the evening. I'm trying to release mental energy. And for me, it's easy to not obsess over food in the morning. It's way harder for me to not obsess over food in the evening. All the strain and all the effort and all the trying means more obsession.
I had to again have a good think about what she was trying to say here, because I do feel it seems a little counterintuitive for me for someone who's in recovery. So I might be wrong with this interpretation, so please correct me, but it sounds like Caroline is trying to have a lighter, smaller meal at breakfast because that is maybe when her willpower to eat healthier is at an all-time high. And this helps to balance out the evening meals where she's tired and maybe more likely to make less healthy, higher calorie choices. Again, I might have gotten that wrong, but I watched it 4 times and that's just what I heard. And if that's the case, I will just say I used to do that too. I used to have this little tiny bowl of yogurt for breakfast, which in my mind helped to balance out the big dinner that I had with protein, starch, and dessert. We all know that it's much harder to eat healthy when you're really tired. And if this works for Caroline, amazing. I'm not her dietitian. She's not my client, but I would be very curious to see what would happen if we flipped it. If the ED voice is best managed in the morning when our coping capacity is greatest, a solid high protein breakfast can help to set the tone for the day, and having extra fuel on board might actually help stabilize blood sugar levels better, improve satiety, mood, energy levels, coping capacity, and the risk of incessant food cravings later on in the day. So you wouldn't need to rely on willpower at all. Like, you're not obsessing over food because you're physically and emotionally satiated and satisfied.
I make sure in every meal I eat protein and a starch. For me, that's because that's the only way I feel satiated. And if you're feeling hungry and not satiated all the time, then you're thinking about food all the time, and then you're obsessing over food.
100%. This is where my hunger crushing combo comes into play. Like, a girl cannot live on lettuce alone. So ensuring you're building balanced meals that contain fiber-rich carbs, protein, and fats, like things that are physically satiating and emotionally satisfying and enjoyable, are really the keys to helping regulate hunger hormones and preventing overeating.
Okay guys, we gotta identify triggers, y'all. It's kind of an overused word, but triggers. So that when I am like starting to spin and starting to obsess, I don't want to lean on my willpower to control the obsession. That's like more restraint, it's more energy. I want to do something that just like naturally takes my mind off of it. Like getting in a craft, doing a puzzle, or organizing, or something you love.
Again, I don't love the willpower verbiage, but I love having a list of like physical activities at the ready for any of those times you feel your ED brain clocking in. So some other great ideas include paint by numbers, adult coloring books, scrapbooking, cleaning, video games, window shopping, or my favorite, planning a future party or date night. That one is my forte. Ask all my friends and neighbors. I plan great parties thanks to my anxiety.
Okay, I gotta say something controversial.
Listening.
I feel like on social media, there's like really only a very specific way that you're allowed to talk about food and food relationships. I don't think it's very honest, and I don't think it's very helpful because I don't think it applies to anybody. We agree that it's okay to have physical preferences about how your hair looks, or physical preferences about how I dress. Like, we all just have to be enlightened out of that, which I just don't think that's realistic. I do have preferences on how I look. But to me, the difference is that I will no longer let my physical preferences damage my health, damage my relationships, damage being balanced in other areas of life. I am not going to let my pursuit of a physical preference come at odds with how my body is naturally.
You know, I don't disagree. And I talked about this in more detail in my video on Stephanie Buttermore's plastic surgery. And I came to the conclusion that I don't think wanting to change your body means that you hate your body or that you have body dysmorphia. Now, I appreciate more than most that it can be a very slippery slope for folks with an eating disorder brain to be thinking about their body all the time. But I think expecting someone to go from willing to die to be skinny to not caring if they're 300 pounds is stretching someone further than they can comfortably go without completely quitting recovery. You know, someone recently called me out on TikTok for not having a goal body, saying, why would I listen to an RD without a goal body? And it was a really good reminder of why I am the weight that I am. Because this is my set point and where I stay when I'm nourishing my body without restriction or obsession. Sure, I could lose 10 pounds of fat and gain muscle so I could look more toned. I'm a dietitian, and a dietitian who had a severe ED, so I know how to do that if I want to. But I would have to do very unhealthy things to get there. I can still desire a goal body from time to time, but in no universe would that desire ever take away the vibrant life that I have today that I know I would have to give up on in order to get that body.
Big rule for me, I absolutely refuse to crash diet. Absolutely refuse. I make sure that at a bare minimum, the way that I adjust what I'm eating is a way I would be happy to eat long term.
Anytime a stranger finds out I'm a dietitian, they're like, oh, what do you think about this diet or this diet or this diet? And basically, I always just say, if you can't imagine yourself doing it for the rest of your life, it's not a good diet. There is zero benefit to losing weight on like a 21-day challenge, just to face plant into a big bag of chips and gain it all back on day 22.
I love Krabby Patties!
This idea of eating intuitively, I was just like, what even is that? Woke up and I'm starving. And that would be so scary to me because I'd be like, well, I can't like eat more than I usually eat because my whole plan is that I'm gonna eat the small breakfast, blah, blah, blah. But on the day when I wake up starving, I trust that it's for a reason. And I trust that when I eat a bigger breakfast, my body needs it. And just trusting, in the beginning it's blind trust. It's not a ton of trust. It's just like, okay, hoping that it does kind of balance out. And it does.
Reinforcing your body's wisdom in defending its set point is so key. I remember literally saying it in my head like a mantra when I was going through recovery, like, it'll even out. My body knows best. My body knows what it's doing. And outside of scenarios where one may be lacking true physical hunger and satiety cues, that generally is true, right? When you're listening to your body, it likes to stay within a specific weight range. So if you have a bigger breakfast one day, it'll likely mean a smaller lunch or vice versa. But I think there's actual value in pushing yourself to intentionally switch up your routine to really challenge any kind of lingering rigidity in your mindset. This is just like a good little intuitive eating exercise to challenge that ED mindset and help you build body trust. And while it can feel very scary at first, I fully appreciate that. It is really, really valuable long term.
I used to think of like balanced eating as being like every single day is perfectly balanced. To me, balance, it includes getting a lot of nutrients, it includes feeling satiated, includes indulging, and it also includes like not indulging every single little whim to eat that I have all the time. I don't indulge every single carnal impulse.
Yes. Repeat after me. A balanced diet is an imperfect diet. And to add to Caroline's comment that balance is sometimes indulging and sometimes not, I think it's really important that those choices are coming from a place of self-care, not deprivation, denial, or punishment.
One of the best things I ever did for myself was to purge my Instagram feed.
Okay, I love this little bonus tip here because honestly, it is something that I recommend everybody does. What you see online is a real distorted version of reality. And the vast majority of wellness and fitness content online probably does more harm than good. So yeah, do not underestimate the power of a social media purge if it's not serving you. Okay, so I am so grateful for other creators sharing their stories like this because I feel like the more we just talk about it collectively, the less taboo it will feel to acknowledge your own struggle and hopefully get yourself some help. So big thank you to Caroline for your vulnerability and bravery. You are doing amazing. I love your tips, and I really do wish you all the best on your journey with food. And on that note, let's give Caroline some love in the comments, and also feel free to share your own stories. If you haven't already watched my orthorexia video, you can check that out right here. And I'll see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!